You ever find yourself binge watching one of those tidying shows, and suddenly you have this overwhelming urge to just organize everything? Yeah, it's become this global thing, right? This mission to declutter our lives. But what if I told you that your battle with that messy room is about so much more than just having too much stuff? Turns out, it's a story that goes back centuries, and it reveals a whole lot about how we've been taught to think about the spaces we live in.
First, let's just start with a crazy number. Get this, the average American wastes 2.5 days every single year just looking for lost items. Think about that for a second. That's a whole weekend, just poof, gone. Swallowed up by the chaos in our own homes.
And what are we sifting through to find these things? Well, it turns out that a whopping 80% of the stuff we keep, we don't even use. We are literally surrounded by things that play no real part in our day-to-day lives. It's kind of wild.
Now, this isn't just some minor inconvenience. It has a real, measurable impact on our brains. Scientific studies show a direct link between physical clutter and our mental health. It actually raises levels of cortisol, the stress hormone. So that mess, it's literally stressing you out.
But here's the thing. Just throwing everything away might be missing the real point. The solution might not be about what we own, but about how we understand the very spaces they're in.
So, we have to ask the question, is our constant struggle really about consumerism and just having too many things? Or could it be a struggle with the way our entire modern world has taught us to think about space itself?
Okay, to really get this, we need a key idea from a geographer named Robert Sack. He calls it territoriality. And no, it's not just about fences and property lines. It's a much bigger idea. It's the strategy of using space to organize and control, well, everything. From whole societies right down to our own individual behavior. It's like the secret blueprint for our world.
To see how this all works, we've got to take a little trip back in time. Because the way we think about our homes, with these neat, separate rooms for everything, that's actually a pretty new invention. It was not always like this, not even close.
Think about it this way. In the pre-modern world, space was messy. It was multifunctional. A street wasn't just for walking. It was a marketplace, a social hub, even a place for public trials. Today, our spaces are incredibly efficient and they each have one single purpose. A street is for cars. That's it. And that very same shift happened inside our homes. Before industrial capitalism really took off, one room in a house wasn't just a bedroom. It might also be the workshop where you made a living and the kitchen where you cooked your food. Your life wasn't separated into different boxes.
So how in the world did we get from there to here? Well, Robert Sack argues that as society shifted, space itself was totally reimagined. It started being seen as this abstract, empty container, a container you could chop up, fill, and organize to control people and what they were doing with maximum efficiency.
And this idea, this concept of space as an emptyable container, it did not stay a concept for long. It became the fundamental organizing principle for all of modern society. We essentially started living our lives inside a grid.
And you can see this logic just spread everywhere. First, it was used in the factory to organize workers on an assembly line. Then schools were designed to organize knowledge in children. Prisons were built to organize and contain deviants. And then finally, that same logic marched right into our private homes to organize our lives.
This was a massive social change. The different parts of our lives, work, learning, eating, sleeping, things that were once all mixed together, were now supposed to happen in completely separate, specialized places. And this brings us right back to the layout of your home. The modern house or apartment is the perfect example of this territorial grid. You have a room for sleeping, a room for cooking, a room for relaxing. Every single activity has its own designated, controlled space.
So, with this historical perspective, let's look again at that simple, nagging chore of just tidying up. What are we really doing when we organize our space? When you understand this history, putting a book back on its proper shelf or sorting your forks and knives, it stops being just a chore. You are, whether you realize it or not, actively participating in a system of spatial control that was designed centuries ago. Suddenly, decluttering is an act of awareness.
And this quote from Sack just perfectly captures the tension we all feel. Our whole society is built for mobility, for change, for things being in flux, and yet we all desperately want to create a stable, organized home. We're fighting to make things stay put in a world that's designed to keep everything moving.
So, the next time you decide to tidy up your home, ask yourself this question.
Are you really just trying to spark joy? Or are you unconsciously reinforcing a grid that was designed to organize not just your stuff, but to organize you?